Welcome to today's webinar. Today we present our regular webinar about the most frequently asked questions, questions that our users ask the Dlubal customer support. My name is Andreas Hörold. I'm responsible for marketing and public relations in the company Dlubal Software. For instance, the German and English webinars, technical content of the website, customer projects, newsletters, and so on. I will be the moderator today, and I will present the first part of the webinar. My colleague, Stefan Hoffmann, will present the second part of the webinar. He's the head of customer support. He prepared the questions. He knows what our users are asked in the past. Okay, and I show you how you can ask questions, at least for the attendees who participate the first time. I switch off my webcam that you can see the full screen. Just click at the button with the question mark, then enter your question in that field, press send, and we will receive your question. And we will answer you. I will answer when Stefan presents, and vice versa. You can also watch the entire webinar and then email your questions to info@dlubal.com. Okay, that's all for the moment. I switch to RFEM and start with the first question. So we've prepared this model, and the question is, how can I create moving loads on members in RFEM 6? That's in RFEM 6 now possible for surfaces and for members. I would like to create moving loads. They should move over the full length of the steel members. That's why I create in the first step a set of member. So I switch here left at the bottom to the navigator views and activate members by material, and I select the steel members. Okay. Then I select all, do a right click on one member, members, and then create member set. Okay. So I switch to the wireframe model right above, that I can see easily what the direction of the member set is. It's now in this direction here. So, and when I want to change that, I click on with a right click on the member set, and I can reverse the member set orientation. And now you can see the arrow is switched. I change it back. Okay, so now we turn to insert, left above, insert, load wizards, moving load wizard. Okay, as I mentioned, it's possible for surfaces and for members. I have to select the member set. Okay. So then the moving step should be in our case 1 meter, but the start offset should be -1. Okay, that's also only starts with the first load, and then the other load moves behind her. So then lane definition, lane 1, and I have to create a load model, generate on members. I would like to have 2 load components. So load type can be a moment, in our case a force. I select the global coordinate system and set direction, that the load has a direction in Z. Then there are different load types that we can choose, concentrated n times and so on. And I showed it with a concentrated load. So then load magnitude should be 1 kilonewton. That should be also a force. The second load, global Z direction. And I select a position, a distance here, 2 meters. And the load magnitude should be 2 kilonewton. Okay, that's all for this dialog. Now you can also enter a load factor, but it's not necessary in our case. So then the load cases are created. We can leave the dialog. So let's take a look at the different load cases. That's the left load. So now we have got 2 loads. Let's move them also around the curve. So that should be all. Okay, let's go to the dialog, load cases and combinations. So you can't change the action category because it's a generated load. You have to do that in the dialog of the moving load. And also you can change the components anytime. Just do a right click on it. Then, for example, I change the value. Sorry, that was wrong. So I changed the value to 4 kilonewton. So, and it's changed for all load cases. Let's turn back to the dialog. And I can change the action category for all load cases here. For example, in post load, and now all in post loads. Okay. I turn back to the dialog load cases and combinations. And I turn to actions and to the imposed loads. And that the program doesn't create a lot of load combinations. Just change here to alternatively. Okay. And then the program creates 81 load combinations. And we are in that case here summarized in one design situation. And you can use that for further designs. Okay, that's all for that question. I turn to the next questions, or question. We remain in this model. The question is, are plastic cross-section analyses possible using the partial internal force method? Yes, that's now possible. At first, I show you how you can or where you can activate that, and then I say something about the partial internal force method. So I turn left above to the base data and I activate the steel design add-on. Standards. I've also choose the German National Annex. but that doesn't matter. Okay. So, and then in the navigator data, I turn to the folder steel design and to the ultimate configurations. I double click on default. So, and that's the check. Perform advanced plastic design. So, and then there's a new folder here. And this is the partial internal force method. Yeah, in steel construction, cross sections that meet certain criteria may be designed using plastic methods. In Eurocode 3, for example, these requirements are linked to the cross sections classes 1 and 2. And this means that stresses can be distributed within the cross section due to yielding of the base material. And while the formulas for calculating plastic limit internal forces in common steel construction standard apply, if at all, only to select cross-section types and combinations of internal forces, the partial internal force method is almost universally applicable. Yeah, for example, components subject to axial force, bending, and mixed torsion, including warping torsion, can also be designed economically. And the partial internal force method is with redistribution is only valid for 2 and 3 plate cross sections. Okay, that's all for this question. I turn to the next model and the next question. The next question is it possible to round the node coordinates? That was an often asked question, and that is now possible. Imagine you have imported a file from a CAD and the nodes are not rounded. Let's take a look at that node here. Double click on it. And you can see where are 5 decimal places for those values here. And it's now easily possible to round these decimal places. So you have to go to or turn to Tools and then Round Node Coordinates. And with the round node coordinates function in the tools menu, you can round coordinates to specific number of decimal places or a factor, a step size. So let's do that with the first function. I turn to 3 decimal, or I select 3 decimal places for all nodes. Press OK. Then we check that node here. Okay, and now you can see 3 decimal places. Okay. So, and let's go back to the dialog, round node coordinates. And now we enter a step, 1 step, 1 decimal place for all nodes. Okay. And now you can see there's only 1 decimal place, and the value is rounded. Okay, that's all from my side. I hand over to Stefan. Stefan, it's your turn.
Thank you, Andreas. I will move on to the next topic. The next topic is why are not all obviously free nodes selected using the function? So, as you hopefully know, RFEM6 is object-orientated. So a member is assigned to a line, loads are assigned to objects, etc. And not all related objects are displayed in purple. So the function I am talking about can be found in edit, select free nodes. And if I choose this, only our node 7 is highlighted. But maybe you would guess why is node 6 and 5 not a free node? Because I want to delete them. And for this purpose, you have, of course, an option to check for it. So sometimes you have a purple color. So this is, for example, if you have objects being really related to another object, like for a solid, you need to have boundary surfaces. So they are linked to the solid. Or for some other member, for example, for the surface model member type, you have surfaces in the background which cannot be seen in normal settings, so they are blocked and locked to the member. So the first point you could do for node 7 is to check for information about input errors. So due to the fact that this one is not mentioned red, there should not be any input errors. But a good way to check for why this node number 6 is not free is that you can right-click and check for the references. And in the references, you can see that node 6 is related to node 7. And why is this the case? If you try to drag and drop node 6, you can see that node 7 is moving, so information can be found in node 7. And it is chosen that the reference node is the previous node, and we want to have this node being located 2 meters in global x direction from the previous node. So if we would lock this reference and go back into the selection to find free nodes, 6 and 7 would now be technically free for the program. For node 5, which is laying in a surface, you may of course think that this may be related to the surface. So if we check for integrated nodes in the surface, node 5 is integrated. So in the references, we should be able to see that node 5 belongs to surface number 1. Same goes for these surfaces, for example. They are not marked purple without thickness, implies that they most likely belong to a solid. And if you right-click on them, check references, you can easily detect that they belong to solid 1. And if you check for the display, we can see that we simply do not display solids. So this is also a hint on which you can identify what might be necessary or what is hidden. And if you, for example, see also purple objects, they are for sure linked to any other objects. You can also right-click on them and check for the references. And then you can see that surface number 8 is related to member 1. So this is the surface model member. And of course, there's also a mesh refinement attached. So the references can be used to check for some connections. So to see if I change something and the program is not acting like I would like to do it or to have it acting, then you can search for references. All right. Let's step to the next file. How do I use layers in RFEM6? So maybe you already detected that there is some new bar shown. Usually in the base data, you can see that there is, of course, there are several new add-ons, but you can see that there is a layout and drawing cut beta version add-on. So it's for free currently because it's in a beta status, and it might be to be purchased later on if you would like to use it. It should be enabled, and I will shortly just call it layers. And if this is active, you can see this bar on the top, and maybe you stumbled already over it, but the main goal of this add-on is to merge static model and architectural model. So it's like having building integrated model, BIM. So usually we as static engineer, we do not care about optics, I would say, so it does not matter if a member is cut or not. But for drawing purposes, reinforcements, etc., it's of course necessary to have a correct look. that all your drawings will be readable and understandable for all those people who will construct the building. And the final goal is to have a connection for our static model and the architectural model, so to be able to have some better drawings being output for the documentation. So as you can see, I have already defined some layers. So if you check on the drop-down menu, you can see there are several layers, but the best way to inspect is that you activate in the View tab all the layer manager. You can put it where you want to have it, and if we check for the layer manager, you can see what is currently available. So the options and functionality will be increasing from time to time. And currently you can define layer groups, you can rename them, you can of course delete them, and then you can work with layers. You can make them visible, non-visible, you can lock them, you can unlock them, and you can of course choose to have the colors being displayed in the main model in order to be able to quickly identify your layers. So I have already started. We have a construction from our website where we have 2 towers and stairs in the middle. So I would just simply go and delete some layers, what I defined, and also the layer group. And then we will just simply start on how you can use it. So you can see that currently everything is put to the current layer if we do not choose some other current layer. So everything which is not assigned to any layer manually by yourself will be assigned to a global envelope layer. So in order to have the second tower defined, we will once again enter -x for our left tower, and then we just simply create a new layer. If we do not care in which layer group we create the new layer, it is put in the overall position and not assigned to -x, but with drag and drop. You could simply drag and drop this layer into the layer group, and it will then be in -x. And if you are in the group and create a layer, then it should be directly be assigned to this group. I will simply define them. Okay. If we have the layers, we simply need to select our objects we would like to have inside the layer. So we, of course, have to select them. So keep in mind that our objects differ, that if you would only select with a left mouse click a bar, the line will not be selected. So you should go from right to left to have everything being selected, what is also behind the objects. And you can also use the edit select related objects function in order to choose everything you would like to have. And you can assign a new layer by simply choosing the layer on the right layer menu bar. So we would go for the rest of the structure and assign this to our expected layers. So mark the objects and go into the assignment. And then last but not least, our stiffening elements. And we will put them in this layer. A big purpose is that, of course, the grid, which is shown in the background, and all the guidelines are not layer committed. So usually only objects will be put into the layers. And it is quite good that you can disable the view, so you can hide all layers, or you can hide single layers, and you can also, of course, choose the command function to display everything in the background or not. And if you get in trouble because you are tend to use the visibility and it does not show to cancel the visibility, but not everything is shown, keep in mind that it might be related to a layer. You can as well lock layers, so it will lock all the objects so they cannot be manipulated by drag and drop, which might be, of course, a good option if you want to work with your model. So to summarize, it will be a good option to have an object selection. And later on, if everything is implemented, you will also be achieving better drawings to be output for your models. Okay, so let's come to an end, and I will start with the last question, which is in favor of my position as solution engineer, head of. How do I contact to support if I have a question in general? So for this, we jump to our website and go into the English overview, of course, and don't be scared. I have some more buttons which you will not be able to see, but it's not about the buttons. So how do you can contact us if you have a question? The first way would be our 24/7 assistant. So just click on Mia and, for example, ask her a question. I will ask her how can I activate steel design, and she will give you an answer for example, RFEM 6 or RSTAB 9. So she is available 24/7. Feel free to ask her if you get in trouble to find some answer. The next option is, of course, to contact us via email or telephone. So if you step into the service part for free support and service, scroll down, you can see that you can call us. And you can also see which service times are available if you have purchased a pro service contract. If you do not have a pro service contract, you can contact us via our email address. Also, USA contacts are shown if you are located there. So feel free, of course, to contact our US team. The next option to contact us is our community. It's located most top on our website. So it's our new or refreshed forum. So there is a good option to have an interaction with us or with other engineers. So we hopefully think that we can grow up a big community where you can also get your answer from other users of our software. It may be software related, but you can also ask there are some other questions what you are curious about, engineering stuff, and maybe you will find a solution on over there. The next function is that you choose a form on our webpage. So if you step into the support tab on top, you can see that there are three options most likely. You can ask an individual question, you can submit a program feature or idea, or you can report a problem. So you can, of course, always contact us simply via email, support@dlubal.com. But you can also choose such a form, which will then be assigned in a correct way to us, where your question will be posted, screenshots and or a model. And this will then be easier assigned to us, but it's not a big deal to simply write us also an email. The last point is logging into the extranet. Maybe you're already familiar with our extranet using RFEM 6 or RSTAB 9. And the part of development, you have the option to submit a new bug report. So you can choose an add-on product and already enter all necessary data. You can also hide it in the extranet community if you do not want to share it to others. And then the bug will be reported and handled by us. Same goes for the feature request, which is also accessible in the extranet. So as you can see, there are multiple ways to contact us. Of course, if you're using a pro service contract, don't hesitate to call us. If not, feel free to use any other form or simply write us an email. All right, so thank you for your attention. I will now hand back to Andreas.
Thank you, Stefan, for your presentation. I have an additional hint for you. You can book our online courses. For example, the RFEM 6 Masterclass course. It's a course for beginners. The Eurocode 2 course for the reinforced concrete design with RFEM 6. The Eurocode 3 course for the steel design. The Eurocode 5 course for the timber design, and the Eurocode 8 course for the earthquake design with RFEM 6. For more information, just scan the QR codes in the middle, or you can click the buttons on the bottom here. You can download the slides from the same page where you can find the recording and the models of today's webinar. In the next days, you will get a link, an email with link to that page. Okay, it should be also all from my side. I thank you for your attention. Thanks to Stefan for your part of the presentation and the preparing. I wish you all a nice rest of the day. Bye bye.